Say hello. Say hello. So this little lamb was born yesterday, and his mom is a first-time mom. And he got separated from her last night. She had two. And so this morning when I found him and brought him back to his mom didn't recognize him anymore because he had the smells from all the other sheep and everything. And so the bonding process is really important, and sometimes it gets interrupted with new moms especially. And so he's going to become probably a little bottle lamb. But I'm just wanting to show you how his instincts, you see how his instincts, he's looking, he's like, he might not even be 24 hours old. And there are these natural instinctive tendencies he has. I'm just going to grab his bottle, okay, to survive, okay? And so here, baby, here. I'm going to give him a little bottle here. Whoops, drink. Just give him a little drink, okay? And see how even though, his mom's not here, he's because of the need to survive, he very quickly is adapted to drinking a bottle. Okay, because it's about survival. And so this video I'm wanting to make is to share things that I have learned in my personal journey in my life, okay? And I have mentioned some of these things in my earlier videos, the videos from before I started posting about the ruins, okay? I'm just going to put him down. He might cry a little bit, but don't worry. He's just walking around. So now I mentioned, and this is definitely going to be some very intimate, personal, private information, but I'm willing to share it because I feel all of us now are being called upon to share our truth for the preservation of, humanity and our planet. And there's a lot going on. So there's two things that have caused me to learn a lot and research a lot about the nature of the mind, okay, and how our minds can be influenced without us being aware, okay? So when I first moved away from Hay River, maybe when I was 20, I got recruited into what I class as a dangerous personality cult, okay? And that dangerous personality cult is Jehovah's Witnesses. And the reason I consider it a dangerous personality cult, and the reason I was excommunicated from that cult, was because I came to realize the serious mistake that particular group was propagating through their teaching of telling their members to not use any type of blood therapy, okay? And I was 4 years where I was within that group, and I was writing letters to their leaders and having multiple meetings with all the different elders and overseers and district overseers, and all I was saying is that they had gone too far, you see, because they were insisting their members abstain from blood therapy and threatened them with excommunication if they did not comply. So they would visit people that were in the hospital, maybe having the cancer treatment, because people don't know. They also, if you have cancer and you're in that religion, you're not supposed to take white cell therapy. There's a lot of stuff that the members within the group aren't even aware of until they're sick in the hospital. And so I became very passionate in trying to understand, first of all, why they had fallen in to that distorted, dangerous interpretation, okay? And it's dangerous because this belief is propagated around the world in second and third world countries where they don't have, governmental systems where they intervene and take children away to protect them, okay? If you reject therapy for yourself or your family or your children in other countries, they are dying over this, okay? So now what the point I want to be very clear here. All of us always have 100% personal right to reject medical treatment. As an adult, say I have cancer, I am not obligated to take chemotherapy. That is my free will. Okay? If I need a heart operation, that is my right to reject any kind of medical treatment. But it is wrong for me to pressure someone else to comply to any kind of therapy that I do not agree with. And that is why I'm taking a stand very much over what's happening around the globe with the injections, okay? Because this is important. This is such an integral human right. And I've already been through this with the cult that I was able to escape from. Now, how they do it, there's an art and a craft and a skill to influence our cognitive functions, okay? And they are not the only group doing it. This is prolific around the world. And I'm going to go into this a little bit more because it's so important to understand now. Also, during that time, when I was still in the cult, I met another woman who had escaped Satanism. And she had been taken when she was 2 and suffered the greatest, most atrocious cruelty possible and still live. And she had multiple personalities. She escaped into Canada when she was 16, and I met her when she was 27. And she became suicidal because that's part of the brainwashing. They try to teach them to return to the cult or kill themselves. And so I helped get her committed into the psych ward for 2 years. And I visited her on practically every day. I had a special pass where the psychiatrist allowed me to have 24-hour access to the hospital. I would frequently sleep overnight with her in lockup when she was in a really bad way. So needless to say, you do not want to know what I know, what my soul suffered finding out because of the terrible, cruel treatment she was subject to, okay? But because of this, I have been guided to understand how we today these methods are being used on a very large planetary scale. And I'm going to explain a little bit about it, okay? But you need to research this yourself because all of us have a susceptibility. And it starts when we're young, so it has to do with brainwave states, okay? And there's a lot of science now. So our brain has different sort of like radio frequencies depending on what we're doing. So high thought, like Einstein, really genius type is like gamma. And then we have beta, which is like really active thought. And then it starts slowing down. Say we're relaxing and maybe watching TV. That's alpha. And depending on what we're watching or listening to on the radio, and especially if you're driving in your car, because then you can drop down into what's called theta. And theta, you can still be awake. And theta, alpha, theta, and delta. Delta is sleep. But alpha and theta are heightened states where information can go in really easily into your subconscious past your normal decision-making screening process, okay? Now, children are especially susceptible to this type of conditioning because they've discovered up until at least the age of 7, some children still till the age of 12, we are naturally almost primarily in theta state when we're children. So that would be like the daydream state. And the reason is this is what allows a child to learn with ease. Multiple languages a child can be spoken to. There's no effort that the mind organically and naturally absorbs that information. It's because of the theta state. So this is why I made the comment about the children being subject to these conditionings right now. This is why they're so vulnerable and susceptible. But television, okay, is it's called programming for a reason. Why are we susceptible to it? When you go into a relaxed time where you're sitting down, you're resting, the flash pulse of the signal of the television is alpha, borderline theta, which lowers our cognitive decision making, which normally, you're having a conversation with someone and they say something to you and you're critical thinking, you go, no, I don't think that's quite right. I'm going to investigate that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, these tools, bypass that and allow us to become that information will go in more easily, into our subconscious, and we will accept it as our own personal conclusions and knowledge when it isn't really. Okay? Now, there's more information on this, and there was a famous man from the late 1800s who was French, and his name was Mesmer. And the word mesmerize comes from his name. And he was basically pioneering the early works of hypnosis. Okay? Now, the Bible does warn against casting someone under a spell. But I believe what it's referring to is when that is done to the other person without the other person's knowing or being aware of what is being done. So when someone is casting a spell on another person, they are doing it because they have studied these secret techniques and systems. And we need to be taught this, all of us. And we need to learn it, and we need to learn how to protect our children from this and ourselves. And I mean it, So now, Mesmer, he started getting really famous in France, and he started working with large groups, thousands of people at a time, and he would just guide people. Now, he was not casting them under a spell because he was explaining to them, and they were trying to figure out what he was doing and why it was working. And so what he was doing, he was helping people get in a relaxed state, get into the theta state, which now with brain science they realize is a state where we can access the automatic functions of our body, and we can enhance our body's healing potential, and we can enhance and facilitate our body's release of stem cells, because we have 80% of our stem cells, they don't know why, stay dormant our entire life. So Mesmer was starting to tap into this. And then he started getting really famous, so he got the attention of the government. And at the time, the American president, I do believe, was Washington at that time. I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it was him. And a few of the senators that he was close with, so a group, 6 or 8, heard of him and went to France. And this is in history, And they found him, and they went and they got him to teach them everything. They spent about a month with him, learning all his methods. Then they went to the French government and told the French government to shut Mesmer down and to prevent him from doing his work anymore. And then they took that information and those tools back to America, in the first world. And these politicians have known, they've known about this. That's why I'm so passionate. And these, when you have a convention, or even how our school system is set up, and when you have one person at the front and then you have everyone sitting for long periods of time, that is not natural. And our body becomes restless and we start staring off. It's a method of amplifying, to plant thoughts and information into the minds of the people, okay? So they have been using this. So these big conferences and conventions and these political rallies, and then, getting the emotions involved and all of that, it's all part of the assimilation. It's all part of the conditioning. And different groups have different methods, okay? So when I was in the cult, one of the other methods that they used is they would have these big studies, okay? And they call it a question and answer time, but it's not really. And you're sitting and you're given literature that has answers in it that have been given to you, not your true answers. And then the participants put their hand up to answer a question from the literature. Okay, so then they'll say, "Oh, that was a wonderful answer you gave." No, it was not the member's answer. It was the answer the cult was planting in the participants. Okay? So this is very important to understand. Now, I don't hate on anyone, okay? And I want to be clear. As far as I can see, this structure of influence, which I'm calling cult. Now, cult is a personality cult, okay? There's different, is when you think there is a particular person who is of a superior attribute or quality. So as far as I'm concerned, Catholicism is just one of the oldest cults with the Pope. It's a type of personality cult, okay? And I'm not trying to criticize. That doesn't mean there aren't good people in these systems, and that doesn't mean there are not good things being taught, okay? But once we open that door of pure trust, it's like that little lamb I showed you at the beginning. He thinks I'm his mother now and trusts me. And, I could put a little bit of poison in this milk and that little lamb would drink it down, okay? And that is what has been happening to us. And that is what's happening. And there is a lot more going on in the world right now, people. But we don't have to be afraid, okay? Even with these substances that they're injecting into us, okay? I do believe in the capacity for healing that is far beyond what we have ever been taught to know, okay? Because there's a lot of profiteering that's going on a grand scale, profiteering on our weaknesses and our illnesses and everything. And so I do believe, as I've said before, I am a Christian, and I am been really, it was through the Bible alone that I got free from the cult that I was in, singularly through studying the Bible. And that is what helped me. So for me, the Bible is a sacred document, and there are many historical sacred documents that can really help us at this time. And so we need to really, really dig deep now, and be prepared to accept to ourselves that where we've made mistakes and seek correction, but don't despair, don't give up, and don't be afraid, okay? We need each other now, okay? We have been severely exploited, and I hope that this was a clear enough explanation. So there's also a book that's been written, The Master and His Emissary, by a very famous psychiatrist, and he explains also the function of the two hemispheres and the way they interact. And so this is really important because this is what is being exploited. And another key thing is emotions. You see, to get the information to go in, heightened emotion is part of the key, whether it's elation. So sometimes the religions and cults will use ecstatic joy and happiness and singing, but they'll also use fear and guilt. So intense emotion coupled with the erroneous information is what facilitates it to get planted quite deep into your subconscious, okay? And so, yes, so I'm sharing, and some people, you might not know this about me, but I really believe in the human race, and I believe in the gift of creation and life on this planet, and I believe it's time for us to go forward now. So I love you all. Bye-bye.